Welcome to the mind of LANCESCURV, the most creatively profound man in cyberspace.
All right, like I was saying, my father was he ruled the roost, and he used to have a program. I don't know if any of your listeners heard of it. It was called the World Tomorrow, and it was by a
Yes.
preacher by the name of Herbert W. Armstrong.
Mm-hmm.
And even though he was a preacher, to me, I felt that this man was just giving information about the Bible. And
Right.
he would ask questions and then he would answer it himself. You know what I mean? He would say, ask us, even though we weren't, he didn't know we were part of his audience, but he would ask us, why were you born? What is the reason you came here? And that's how I got to learn about the Bible. You know what I mean? My father, he was into the Bible, but he wasn't stuck by the Bible. I mean, if you understand what I'm saying.
Oh,
And
exactly.
when and he raised us, you know, and he wanted us to be the best we could be. And his way was not the way he wanted us to know about the Bible, that it exists, but it wasn't something that he, wanted us to be captured by. Because he
Right.
would always say whenever we went out, be careful, somebody's going to try to take your mind. But anyway, that's basically the world in which we raised up, and when I became a man, I started to look at, you know, things around you. What is, what's going on around you? Why do we accept whatever we accept? And it's because that, when we were a child, we couldn't, we couldn't go against authority. This is the way we were raised. And so,
Exactly.
like, when I had my kids, and I always go back to my father, that he always wanted us to make sure that my kids wasn't getting uh, hamstrung by the Bible. Because if you notice the child, he's actually a scientist. All kids, they're always into something. They want to learn. They and this process goes through our mind hundreds of times, millions of times, before we reach the age of 18 or reach the age of 12 or 13, which is the age of reasoning. And
Right.
so, like, I look at my granddaughter, great granddaughter, and I see her. She's always into something. She wants how to open up the drawer, how to close the refrigerator. You know what I mean? And even though she's not able to do it at this time, but she's clocking it. She's watching it, and she's continuously seeing this drawer open. You see it close. You see the movement of our hands. How do we go about doing this? And so you know, I took it. I made it a personal. I made it something personal for me to go
Right.
out and watch her and make sure that she's not, she don't hurt herself, or she's not moved in a different way. But people, I think people have to understand that all children are scientists. We were. This is how we were born. We can't help it, and And there's some of us, or most of us, we guide our children in a different manner. You know what I mean? And we
Exactly.
just can't help it because this is the way we were raised. You know what I mean? So, and you can't go, you know, we weren't, we can't go against. This is the world in which, in other words, this is the world in which we grow up, we were raised in. We don't have the ability to say we have to accept this reality of the world in which we're presented. What we're presented,
Yes.
this is how we see it. And so if someone presents the world in such a fashion to us, this is how we accept it, even though it is wrong. Some of it is wrong. The 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 stories in which they use to capture us, capture our mind, and now we can't, and once the mind is captured, I mean, I'm not talking about 2 or 3 days. I'm talking about years of constantly being harangued with these different beliefs, whether it's Muslim or whether it's Christian or what have you. And I could pick out certain people in history who were captured by this. If you take the Muslims with the so-called Honorable Elijah Muhammad and his main man, I call him the main man, was Malcolm X.
Right.
Now, when Malcolm X went to prison, see, religion wasn't his thing. I haven't seen him, get before the pulpit and say, "In the name of Allah."
Right.
I
It's
never
true.
heard that. You know what I mean? He used religion as a basis, but it wasn't his foundation. Because if you remember that when he was in prison, he called him the Great Satan. See, Malcolm X was formulated already. So when Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he joined the Nation of Islam, I I have a problem with people saying, "Well, he believed in Allah." Your formulation of you began when you was a child, and I don't know that he was. Some people go to church a short period of time. Some people go for a long period of time. Some people go every week. You know what I mean? So I don't think that his foundation was Christianity, even though Elijah Muhammad. I mean, I've read a book on him, Ordinary Man, where when he was raised, they call him the prophet. So this prophet, this was bred into him that he was going to be a prophet. You know what I mean? And this is how he became. This is how he became what he became because
Right.
his parents, his grandfather, I believe, and his mother bred this into him that he's going to do certain things. And I don't
It's in his DNA.
go
It was
against
in
him, but
his wiring.
this is something that he was, tuned in to be. You know what I mean? Even though there was no truth in it, but this is the way he was raised to be. You know what I mean? Like I say, all children, what whatever whatever they are. I mean, they come out like my child. My grandbaby. She's all over the place because she's learning. She's picking up everything. She's picking up every day, and this is what we have to understand, that we have to allow them to breathe, to develop. You know what I mean? if I could give you a good example, not only Malcolm X, but throughout history, when the Chinese, when Chairman Mao took over China in 1949, the first thing he did, which these black leaders in Africa and America and throughout the world, they haven't picked up on. The first thing he did was to not to put the white man out of China. That was number one. So from 1949, for 20 years, from 1949 to 1969, white people weren't allowed into China because he wanted to create something. He wanted to develop something. And with the white man being in there, this would, you know, it wouldn't come out truly to what it's going to be. It's like black people going over to Africa and they're going with their different ideas. And now the the Africa in which you're looking for has become polluted because you can't
Exactly.
have black people go over there and not, you know, they come with certain ideas. And the ideas that we have is basically not basically is a white man idea. He's the ruler, our child is picking up because every time a child sees something, he's recording it. It's like a track. It's
Yes.
like a track. He's taking it in, and this becomes his reality. This is how a person becomes who they are because they're constantly being bombarded with different things. And this is how you open a drawer. This is how you close a drawer. And even though a child sometimes can't do it, after time doing it, because by the time he's whatever 15, 20, these things have happened hundreds of thousands of times, and so this is a reality to him. And this is how people in general, how they pick up, how they learn, and this is how
Yes.
this is how the Chinese, when they, like I said, when they started, there are three guys: Mao, Zhou Enlai, and Lin Biao, and they wanted a different China, and they developed. That's why China is so well. To the white man, he's out of the mainstream because he wants to give them their religion, because the religion is like a tool that they could use in order to enslave the minds of the Chinese. Just like
Yes.
blacks, they believe that Jesus is going to come one day, but uh, that is never going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's a tool that he have used, and he used it well. You can't, I got to give him credit. He used it, and he used it against us, and everything that this white man has done, whatever invention that has come up with, he's always used it. He used it against us. Whether and when the Chinese made gunpowder, back in I don't know 8th century or whatever, this white man took it and used it as explosives you know, to to control people. When they created poison, he used it and fed it to the indigenous people throughout the world, whether it's in Australia or whether it's in America. He used it in order, in order to capture us, to 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 rule. You know, he never used. There's no other people on this planet that has used science for harm other than this white man. This is his nature. You know what I mean? If you look at his history since the time of, oh boy, since the time of 436 BC, when the Greeks conquered Egypt, their aim was always to control and destroy. This is their whole. This is their. I, I would have to say it's their reality, because
Mm-hmm.
even today they're not. They want, and to me, it seems like they want this planet for themselves. You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Whatever we, uh, however kind however benevolent we are to them, they always. It seems like that's their their desire. You know what
Modus
I mean?
operandi.
So I just got a history of things, or he has a history of things that he has done to black people, and there's no wishing, there's no, people waiting for their so-called check for the past damages that he has done to us. You know what I mean? I don't think he has enough money to pay for all the damage he has done. And black people have to be on the outlook. I mean, look at how the Jews, so-called Jews, went up into Palestine, and just up to this date, 30 million, not million, I wish not, 30,000 people. But they bombed them, and he said he's going to bomb them into oblivion. And
Mm-hmm.
and you can't say, well, it's Netanyahu. It's the whole Jewish tribe. This European. This is his nature, and he just has killer instinct. I mean, there's no
Mm-hmm.
getting away from it. You know what I mean? I could like I said, the way I was raised, I was always even my sisters, my brother, we're always raised as scientists, because this is our nature. This is how we were raised, and I raised my kids the same way, to have a scientific mind. Everything has to do with science. It has nothing to do with some man coming from somewhere and coming to save us. And I can't accept that. I mean, some people could accept it because that is their reality. See, we have what is real and what isn't. And I go and I still hop back onto the Chinese, because they showed, they know the the depth, the how this they know this Anglo-Saxon. You know what I mean? So when the Anglo-Saxon said, I don't know why the Chinese don't want to speak with us. I don't understand why. Why would they? You know what I mean? When you don't mean them any good. Black people,
You go.
when they all the different countries to come over to America, all 50 of them, 50 countries from Africa, they went to the White House to visit uh, Biden. I, I don't, I mean, what
That's why.
good he does, he hasn't meant us any good. I mean, for years, for centuries, he, he, he's just, he's just, he just outright killers. I mean, so we have to, we have to learn, or our days might be numbered. And it's just as simple as that. So I'm going to go now. I'm going to cut off now, and I
Yes.
want to thank Lance for allowing me to
Want to
give
thank
you
you.
a brief s- a briefing of what I have to say. But I'm going to
We appreciate it, brother, for you taking the
yeah,
time. You know, so
I'm going to come on, because I
anytime,
haven't been in the
anytime.
groove. You know what I mean, with what's going on in America. With the George Floyd, and how they, with this homosexual thing.
Yeah.
It I don't know what that is, because I wasn't raised that way. You know what I mean? I
Me
never.
neither.
I'm not saying that it wasn't Johnny's on the block, but it wasn't like what they have today, with men wearing pants. I mean, men wearing dresses, and women, act. It just, that wasn't my reality. So I'm really confused when people come out and dress like that.
Yep. You and me
So
both.
I'm going to cut it off now, Mr. Scurv.
Yes. Thank you
And
so much, Pope Leo, for sharing that with us
I just
because,
hope that people. Well, I would like to come on in a couple of days, and
yeah,
I want to
brother,
make
you can
this.
come on every day if you want to. I'm here. This is what I
Yeah,
do. So,
yeah. So
the
I'm
new
just
way we
going
do it,
to.
and it's
Yeah,
convenient. Just call me and we'll be on within minutes.
yeah. Because I really want to get into this, because our our future is our children,
Yes.
and if you sidetrack them, what I mean, before they, like, my children didn't, believe it or not, my children didn't go to church until they were 7 or 8 years old,
See
because
that?
I figured by that time I was able to wean them in a certain, not that I just didn't want, how would I feel my child going to church, and then some person talk about they got the Holy Ghost and they start jumping all over the floor. You know, I what what imagine the mind of the child when something of that is going on, and then later on he's he become crazy as hell. I mean, don't you think you're contributing to that? I mean, so I was very careful. Well, people say what they want, but I figure after a certain age, you could let the child go out a little bit. You know what I mean? To
Because they're
discover.
anchored by that time. They know
Huh?
better. They're
Yeah,
anchored and they know
yeah.
better.
They not they don't know, not that they, but they're gonna follow what the script was at home. You know what I
Right.
mean? So that's how, even my son to this day. I mean, people could, they could say, "Hey, come on, come on to church and this and that," but it doesn't grab onto him. And see, just like it didn't grab onto me, because, my father, he wouldn't, that church thing, he let us go later on. And when we went into the church, we raised so much hell in the church that they put us out anyway, because we didn't, we weren't, uh, we just wasn't captured by it. And I look at, take this, before I go, take this, president of, Kenya, Ruto, I believe his name is
Mhm.
Ruto, and his wife. I read a story where his wife and her entourage came to Florida and met Benny Hinn. Now she met
What?
Benny Hinn. No, I'm telling you, she met Benny Hinn,
Hmm.
and this was taxpayers' expense of Kenya. She came here, met Benny Hinn, and brought him back to Kenya. And this is, you can read up on it or whatever. You brought him back to Kenya to wish for rain. Some part of Kenya, there was
Oh, come on. Wow.
there was a drought. You know what I mean? And so, I'm reading anything. I'm saying no. So the leaders of they only could use the tools in which they were brought up with. You understand? If you're brought up on that basis, this is what you're going to use. You
That's
can't
right.
you can't if you take the scientist out of the child, you can't, after a certain age, the child, he lost his scientific ability to reason. And so she brought Benny Hinn over there, and
Oh,
I don't know how many hummers he got, but she brought him over there, and they had this rain, like the Indians, you know what I mean? Rain dance. It didn't work, but
brought him over there for that. Oh,
huh?
and brought him over there for that.
Yeah,
Oh,
brought
man.
him, came to Florida. Her and her entourage came there to Florida and brought him back over there. You know what I mean? And so these are the people we're dealing with. You know what I mean? So when, you know, I'm going to probably in the next month. I'm gonna come over to Ghana. That's where I
Beautiful.
want to go. I went to 2 years ago. I went to I went there before Tanzania.
Yes.
I went there before, but 2 years ago I went there to Dar es Salaam. I wanted to, but my gauge, my gauge of, of looking at people, I looked at them through the eyes of religion, and even the so-called Nation of Islam. You see, when you read about, you don't read the the leader as he is now. To find out about a man who he is, read about when he was born, from the time of his birth until the age of 15. And whatever he was then, he is now. Mr. Farrakhan, he was into religion, Christianity. Is he not into religion now?
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? Even though they got Islam and this and that, but you're going to convert into your original. And this is just the way uh, man was made. You know what I mean? You're not gonna. It's not gonna change. That's why I say Malcolm X probably was the best thing that could have happened to the Muslim. But Elijah Muhammad, he didn't see it that way because they had different visions, and it's hard. It's hard for you to go against. something that you was raised on. He was raised as a prophet. I mean,
Yes.
that's what his parents, if you read the book, Ordinary Man, you would see, I go to the basis, you know what I mean? How this man, how he started, you know what I mean? And then you know who he is, you know what I mean?
Yes.
His son, his daughters, you know what I mean? This is them. I mean, that's why Malcolm, he couldn't, they couldn't, he couldn't see eye to eye. He just couldn't. I mean, the CIA killed them, Asian
Mm-hmm.
killed them. It's just that they had a jewel that they should have held on to, and they just didn't. You just can't go back and undo what was done. And you could say, well, Malcolm could have went along with it until no, but that's not how the human beings are. They just, whether you're a Christian, you're a preacher, you want to preach that if that's your core belief, you want to preach that until the day you die,
Absolutely.
whether it's true or false. This is how they're going to be. That's why they're fighting so hard with the Chinese, because they want to get that religion in there, and the Chinese won't allow them. And they kept them out for 20 years. How are you going to open up Africa to everybody and everybody do whatever they want? There's no rules. You know what I mean? That shows you that, the way we were raised, most people were raised, get what you can. You know what I mean? And even though, black people say, hey, brother, how's everything going and this and that? But if you wasn't raised that way, you're not going to be like that. It's just not. It's not going to. It's not going to tally out. The Marcus Garvey. He started at a young age. Being a self-made man. So he could see the Black Star Line, which was a great thing for black people to do. But minute he died, the idea died with him, and no one picked it up. Even though that's the best thing that black people could get into, was the cruise line. Because when you're out on the waters, no one can control you. No, whatever you do aboard that ship, that's it. That's the way it is. But
Make sure to go to LANCESCURV.com, an online magazine established in 2001, containing written articles, thousands of talk shows and discussions, cutting-edge cartoons, as well as erotic expressions and tasteful adult photography. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Once you get a taste of the world of LANCESCURV, trust me, you'll be back for more. LANCESCURV.com. Bold, raw, and uncut.